Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shaunneka and today we are going to do a full hour-long class for your hips, mostly concentrating on the outer hip area. This class is going to be really beneficial if you have low back pain, but if you do a lot of sitting, this class is really trying to target relieving tension in the lower body and trying to gain some flexibility and mobility in the pelvis area. So for this class, you will need 2 blocks, but they're not necessary. You don't have to use them. I just prefer to have a little bit of a prop when I'm doing poses like dragon and such. So we're going to go ahead and start right away with an intense toe squat. So for intense toe squat, finding a tabletop position, you're going to tuck your toes under and bring your weight and sit back onto your heels. Drag your pinky toes forward. And just closing the eyes here. I always like to start with intense toe squat because, as you know, a lot of our stress and tension is carried in the feet, and by opening up the fascia in your feet, you're kind of alleviating that tension. It kind of exudes itself up the back line of the body and helps prepare us for the poses to come. So just closing the eyes here. Just noticing where you're placing your weight. If you're leaning too far forward, you can always drag the fingertips up and down the thighs if that helps. Focusing on the quality of your breath here. Noticing if you're tensing the shins. Allow the shins to be soft, no gripping. Last few breaths here. Let's take our last 2 breaths. Nice big inhale. And sigh out. One more inhale. And exhale. Gently opening the eyes if they were closed. Rock forward, plant your hands onto the floor. Untuck your toes and just rotate through the ankle. Maybe wiggle the toes. Tap the toes on top of the mat. Maybe extending one leg back and the other. So we've just opened up the back line of the foot, back line of the body, and now we're just going to counter stretch that and stretch the tops of the feet. So bringing your fingertips nice and light behind you, unless of course if you're sitting like this and you're feeling enough of a stretch through the tops of your feet, you stay where you are. Otherwise, bringing your fingertips behind you, you're going to lean back. Again, you can stay here if this is enough for you, or begin to pick up the the knees, holding it here for 3 deep breaths. Nice big inhale. And exhale. Gently lower, rock forward again, untuck the toes, and rotate the ankles. And if you normally do toe squat, you may notice that it doesn't feel maybe as painful doing it now because we're all inside and we're not wearing shoes, so there's less constriction of the feet. All right, let's go ahead and make our way into our second posture. We'll be coming into butterfly. So for this one, because we are concentrating on the outer hips, you want to bring your feet further away from your groin. And it's up to you. You can have a slight space in between the feet. Bring your hands onto your shins. Inhale, reach the chest forward, stick out the bum. And then exhale, walk as far forward as you can. So there's no gripping, no pulling, and just allow the head to drop. So once you've settled in the pose, really just find stillness here. So again, remembering to breathe into the back body, expanding through the back of the rib cage. Notice if maybe you're clenching the jaw or squinting the eyes. Allow everything to just drop. So coming to our last few breaths here, just see if maybe there's a way you can allow yourself to go deeper. Maybe you inchworm your fingertips further away from you. Drop the head a little further. Last few breaths here. Nice, big quality breaths. Let's take our last 2 breaths here. Nice big inhale, really fill up. And exhale, release. One more inhale. And exhale. Gently lift the gaze, walk your fingertips back in, and walking yourself back up. Go ahead and bring the knees closed. You can wrap your arms around your knees and just to rock from side to side. Take a moment here. Maybe bring your hands behind you and just very gently windshield wiper the knees from side to side. And from here, we'll go ahead and come into our next pose, which is dragon. So you do not need your blocks for this one, although I like to use mine to prop my hands on. So if you are using your blocks, you can bring them to the inside of your right foot. So bring your right foot to the top of the mat. You're going to tuck your left toes under, pick up your left knee, and then shimmy your left knee back as much as is comfortable for you. And then if you notice you need a little bit more space for your hips, you can walk your right foot just to the edge of your mat, giving your hips a little bit more space, making sure your knee is stacked in line with your ankle. So staying here, propped up on your blocks or on the mat, up to you. Making sure you're not rounding, finding length in the pose. Belly is soft. So for some of us in this pose, you're feeling the stretch through your left hip flexor. And for others, you're feeling this through your inner right groin, inner thigh. The more you let the belly go, the more intense you feel the stretch. So we've come a little bit more than halfway in this pose. If you'd like, you could stay here on your palms, or if you have those blocks handy, you can bring your forearms to the blocks, or you can bring your forearms to the mat. Again, try not to round. Last few breaths here before we transition. Take our last two breaths. Nice big inhale. And flush it out. One more inhale. And exhale. Go ahead and push into our palms. From here, you're going to tuck your left toes under and send your hips back. You're going to walk your right toes all the way over and bring your right foot down and bring your right knee down behind the right palm. Look over your left shoulder. Make sure your leg is behind you and not open to the side. If your right hip doesn't come to the floor, you can always place a towel or your block underneath there. Inhale, find length. And exhale, let's go ahead and fold forward. So you can stay here on forearms, or you can stack fist on fist, which is something that I like to do, and let the forehead rest. So in this pose, noticing if you're pushing and placing so much pressure into the elbows that your shoulders are hiking up by your ears, open your elbows nice and wide, relax the shoulders, relax the belly, the toes. So we've come more than halfway without coming out of the pose, making any minor adjustments to allow yourself to go deeper. So something that I like to do is tuck my left toes under and then shimmy my knee down towards the bottom of the mat, lengthening out through my back leg. Last few breaths here. Let's take our last two breaths. A nice big inhale. And exhale. One more inhale. And let it out. lift the gaze, push into the palms. From here, you're going to lean your weight into your right hip. You're going to extend your leg out to the side, all the way to the back. And come to lay on the mat. Really just enjoying all those sensations now pulsating through the right side of the body. Allowing any energy, anything that was stagnant there to move and flow. Noticing the effects from one side of the body to the other. So these moments of stillness are really crucial because it really allows you to reap the benefits of the pose. Let's go ahead and bend the knees. And very gently windshield wiper the knees from side to side. Right away I can tell a big difference just in the mobility of my hip between the side we've done and the side that's to come. And when you're ready, rolling over onto one side and pushing yourself back up. We'll go ahead and do the same sequence on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my blocks. From your tabletop position, you're going to step this time the left foot to the outside edge of your mat. Tuck your right toes under and shimmy your right knee back as much as is comfortable for you. Make sure your knee is stacked in line with your ankle. And again, if you need more space for your hips, you can shimmy your left foot closer to the outside edge of your mat. Belly is soft, so really just let the belly go. You can place your hands on blocks or not. Just making sure you're not rounding in the spine. Notice if you're clenching your jaw. allowing everything to soften. So we've come more than halfway. Doing anything to allow yourself to go a little bit deeper. Maybe bring your forearms onto blocks. So if you've noticed in the practice of Yin Yoga, we don't come into our edge right away. It's something that we gradually meet, gradually come into. Last few breaths here. Last two breaths before we transition. Nice big inhale. And side out. One more inhale. And let it go. Push into your palms. Tuck your right toes under. Send your bum back. You're going to shimmy your left foot behind your right wrist. And your left knee comes down behind the left hand. So go ahead and look over your shoulder. Make sure your leg is behind you. If your left hip is not on the mat or on the floor, you can always place a towel or a block. Inhale to find length. And when you're ready, fold forward. Again, belly is soft. Kneecap is soft. Shoulders are drawing away from the ears. And you'll notice that you can notice one side is probably tighter or more open than the other side. I know for me, this side is more open than my right side. Usually the side that's more stiff, I guess you could say, just means that there's more stuff bugging up the lines. It's more used. So as we come into our last few breaths here, you may want to consider tucking your right toes under, picking up your right knee and moving your right knee down towards the bottom of the mat, finding length. Take our last 2 breaths. Nice big inhale. And a cleansing exhale out of the mouth. One more inhale. And exhale. Lift the gaze, push into the palms. At this time, you're leaning your weight onto that left hip. You're going to extend the left leg out to the side and to the back. And lay all the way down onto the mat. Just taking these moments to feel. Really feel what's happening and what's moving internally for you. I could seriously stay here all day, but we need to move on, so let's go ahead and bend the knees. And very gently windshield wiper them from side to side. Rolling onto our side and pushing ourselves up to a seat. So up next, so from here we're going to make our way into a cow log, just like we did the dragon to pigeon. We're going to do a cow to log pose. So I personally like coming into cow facing pose from a tabletop position. If your thighs are a little bit on the thicker side, or if your outer hips are quite tight, you might also enjoy this way to get into the pose. So you're simply going to take your right knee and cross it over the left so that your knees are stacking right on top of each other and your feet are out to the side. You're then going to sit in that space that you've created, trying to bring your shins parallel to the top of your mat. So what I like to do is I like to take my thumbs and place them on the insides of my instep, stick out my bum, lift my chest, making sure that you're digging the knife edge of your feet into the floor, into the mat. Inhale here, and then exhale, fold forward any amount. So again, you're really trying to keep the right hip onto the floor. You can hug the knee if that's more comfortable. Feeling a nice stretch in the outer hip. I should mention before, if your knee does not come to the floor, you can also place your knee on a block if your legs are much longer, or you can always sit on a block. And you'll still feel the stretch. Last few breaths here before we transition. Let's take our last 2 breaths. Nice big inhale. And side out. One more inhale. And exhale. Lifting the gaze, walk your hands back in, and we're just going to transition right away into that log position. So I'm just going to turn around so you can see me better. So from your cow facing pose, you're simply just going to bring your bottom shin, which is your left leg, parallel to the top of the mat, and you're just going to drag that right shin over top. So your shins are parallel and your right foot is hanging off of the left knee. If you need support, you could place the block there if you need it, if you have a pillow handy. And if having your knee, like you notice mine, there's a big gap between my bottom foot and my knee, I can always place the block there. But I'm okay. So here I am. Again, you want to imagine like you're sticking out your bum, and you'll notice that increases the stretch in the outer right hip. And again, you just really want to make sure your feet are flexed. That prevents the rotation from going into your knee and keeping the rotation in the hip. So inhale, stick out the bum. Exhale, walk your fingertips forward any amount that's comfortable for you. And let the head drop. For some of us, you might feel this in your IT band. I know I do. Other option is to keep your fingertips behind you. Just use them as the leverage to reach, push forward. Last few breaths here. Nice deep breaths. Really thinking about those areas that you're feeling the tension and bring your awareness there. then massage it out with the breath. Last 2 breaths. Nice big inhale. And side out. 1 more inhale. And exhale. Walk your hands back in. You're simply going to uncross the shin. Extend your legs out long. And just fold forward. Unless, of course, you would rather lay all the way down onto your back. Let's go ahead and lift the gaze and prep ourselves for our last side. So go ahead, find that tabletop position again. And grabbing your blocks if you plan to use them. Crossing the left the left knee over the right. Bringing your feet out nice and wide, and then sitting the bum back into that space that you've created. Making sure that your shins, or trying to bring your shins parallel. And again, I like to take my thumbs, place them on my insteps. Inhale to reach my chest forward and stick my bum out. Find length, and then I fold forward. So this time the stretch is in the outside, the outer left hip. It's up to you where you place your hands. Maybe you place it on blocks or not. Just always want to think about reaching or sticking the bum back. Nice deep breaths. Last few breaths here. Last two breaths. Nice big inhale. And side out. One more inhale. And exhale. Walk yourself back up. And right away we are going to move into our log pose. So I'm just going to shift my shape to the front of the camera. So with your right shin now, bringing it parallel to the top of the mat, you're just going to drag that left foot over. So your left shin is now on top of the right. And the left ankle is hanging off of the knee. Again, you can place those blocks where you need the most support for this pose. Again, imagining you're sticking your bum out behind you. So inhale, lift the chest, stick out the bum, and then exhale, fold forward, and you mount. And again, remembering to keep those feet flexed, to keep the rotation out of the knee and into the hips. Last few breaths here. Let's go ahead and take our final 2 breaths. Nice big inhale. And exhale. One more inhale. And exhale. Walk your hands back in. Uncross the ankle. And from here, we're actually just going to make our way right into our Shavasana. Let's go ahead and lay all the way down onto the mat. Just bringing your feet as wide as your mat and let your knees knock in. Just allowing the spine to recalibrate, to neutralize. So you can stay here with your knees bent, or you can go ahead and extend your legs out wide the length of your mat for your Shavasana. Just showing yourself a moment of gratitude for practicing today. So feeling free to stay here for as long as you like, or otherwise slowly beginning to invite movement back into the body. Wiggling the fingers and the toes, rotating the ankles and the wrists. Take a nice big inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Nice long body stretch, reach, 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 reach. And release. Bending the knees, rolling over onto your side. Just hanging out here for a moment. Let's go ahead and push ourselves up to a seat. Just closing the eyes here. Let's take one final breath. Nice big inhale. Fill up, fill up, fill up. Hold. Open the mouth and sigh it out. And go ahead and open the eyes. Yogis, I hope you enjoyed this hip opening, outer hip opening series, and that you just feel nice and open in your lower body. If you enjoyed this class, comment, like, subscribe, and share it with anybody who you think will enjoy my content or maybe even enjoy this class. And that's it. I hope to see you in my next video. Have a wonderful day.